amazing when you think about some of those connections, isn't it?
But they make it sound so simple.
I know. But you think about Solomon getting his horses from Egypt and sending people down there. You read that in Kings and think, this is really boring. And yet when you try to understand it, it all of a sudden starts to make more sense and becomes much more interesting, doesn't it? That's why Egypt's mentioned.
But also the fact that they take the Old Testament, then it gets
Turned
flipped around in the New Testament.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. And in fact, that is what this video is about, a lot of. I thought we could do this one individually. You could write it on paper. How are we doing time-wise? Yeah, we've got time. So, open up your Bible to Matthew 22, 15 to 21, or your phone. Now, that's where Jesus says, render to Caesar what's his and to God what's his. So, you might read that and say the key idea is it's good to pay your taxes. Maybe. That could be your interpretation. But then let's think about it again. Ask these questions, what are the important historical and geopolitical aspects here? Where did Jesus live? What ethnicity was he? Who ruled the land? Who were the Pharisees? Who were the Herodians? What were their ambitions? Who was Caesar? What was his ambition? What were his fears about his empire? Then read the literary context. What had been happening in the passages and chapters prior to the story? What happened in the passages directly after the story? And what's the key climactic event in Matthew, do you think? And then think about, what do you think is motivating the characters of the story, and what are the potential emotions of the characters? And why do you think Matthew put this story in his account? What do you think he wanted his readers to think about? And so after all of that, what do you think the key ideas of the story is now for you today? So just maybe 5 minutes, just answering those questions. You can perhaps write them down, or you can just get them in your head. If you don't know, just skip to the next question. Or look it up on the internet. Alright, so it's good to pay your taxes is one interpretation. But let's answer the questions. Where did Jesus live?
In Israel.
And what was his ethnicity?
Jewish.
Yep. Who ruled the land at that time?
Romans.
Okay, Roman Empire. Pharisees, who were they?
The hierarchy of the church.
They were kind of like the religious teachers, weren't they? Yeah. Herodians?
Ruling family, Idmunians, or what do they call it?
Yeah, so they were sort of Jewish people that were in the ruling class, that were ruling sort of on behalf of Rome, weren't they? Who wanted to hold on to their power.
Exactly.
Same with Pharisees. What were their ambitions? I kind of just answered it. They wanted to hold on to their power. Okay, Caesar?
Roman.
Okay, so he's the big guy. And what was his ambition?
About uprising.
He was. Okay, so Caesar's worried about uprising. They're worried about losing their power. They know about his fear. Okay, now what's been happening in the chapters leading up to this?
He talked about the kingdom of heaven being like the dude's like son or brother coming back. I'm really bad at explaining things.
Yep. So Jesus is coming to Jerusalem
Mm-hmm.
towards right before the crucifixion. He's been doing a lot of teaching. He's been saying a lot of things that's upsetting the Pharisees and the Herodians. And
He's deliberately trying to upset the barrel.
he's upsetting them, that's right. Yep.
He's
And
making sure his crucifixion.
And
There's talks about the wedding story and sums it up for many are invited but few are chosen.
Yep. So he's
And then
making them
there
look
was-
rather silly, isn't he? And he's making them look like they don't care about God properly. Yeah, I think... Sorry, go on. There was another story you're going to...
I was going to keep talking.
Keep talking,
No,
yep.
it's alright.
No, keep going.
I was going to answer a different question.
Go for the next question then.
And then I noticed that after Jesus was correcting the Sadducees, and then during this story, I think the Pharisees were testing Jesus and he's correcting them. I think like coming back to that story of the wedding guests, many are invited but few are chosen. He's addressing the leaders of the time, both the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and it's interesting because a lot of the times we focus on the legalism of the Pharisees, but he was also correcting the Sadducees.
Yeah, very much so. So the Sadducees are kind of like the Herodians, aren't they? They're the upper class ones who aren't so caring about the religion. So they're actually natural enemies, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, or the Herodians and the Pharisees. But they've both got the ambition to maintain their own power.
Status quo.
Yeah.
Don't upset
Except
the
they
other
like
guy.
Caesar out of
And what happens directly after these passages?
there.
It goes to another story, but then you've got the greatest commandment.
Okay, so we've got more stories leading to the climactic event, which is
Crucifixion.
crucifixion. Okay, so it leads to Jesus' death, all of these conversations and discussions.
He does a couple of miracles in between.
Yeah,
there's a few
yeah.
stories.
There's a lot happening there, isn't there? So what's motivating the characters? What's motivating
She said, making sure.
the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Rhodians? They want to maintain their power. We know what's motivating the Romans. They don't want an uprising. What's motivating Jesus?
Well, he knew what was to come.
He did.
He knew that the crucifixion was coming.
He was trying to prepare the
Not
way,
that far.
because he was telling them that there was the important thing that they were missing the point altogether,
Yep.
as far as the Pharisees and the Sadducees were concerned.
So they're trying to get him arrested,
Correct.
right?
Trying to
That's
trick
kind
him
of their
up.
motivation, isn't it? They're trying to get him arrested by doing something wrong.
They want to protect their socio-economic system.
Yep.
And Jesus wants to disrupt their socio-economic system because he wants to usher in the true kingdom, and they're trying to protect their existing kingdom.
Yep.
And so the conflict is between the existing kingdom, or Caesar,
God, really.
and God.
Yep.
Which
And in
is
this-
exactly what this story is about.
And in this story, they're trying to get him to answer so that he commits what?
Caesar or
Blasphemy.
Either blasphemy
Treason.
or treason.
Yeah.
They're trying to back him into an unwinnable situation. Because you commit treason, you got the death penalty. You commit blasphemy, you get the death penalty. They're trying to back him into a really difficult situation. Does Jesus take that bait?
No.
Nah.
Does-
No.
So does he commit the crime of blasphemy or does he commit the crime of treason there? So he is trying to be blameless. He's trying to be innocent in all of this.
He gives the perfect answer.
He does.
Because it can't be either way.
But there can be no reason for him to go to the cross
No.
in these answers.
No.
There's no reason for him to.
No.
So he's an innocent, blameless character in this story, in these events. Okay, so putting all
They
this.
know what he's really saying. So he answers.
That's true.
He answers them in an answer where he is giving them the answer, but not saying it. He's asking them to fill in the gaps.
Yep.
And
That's
they
all
know
the
what the
way
gaps are.
Yeah.
He's establishing his genuine power and authority.
He is. So it's good to pay your taxes, could be how you read it at a really simplistic level, but you put all that into it. What do you think Matthew wants the readers to be thinking about? And by extension, what's the message that we should be getting out of this? There's lots of answers. It's not one answer.
Well, there's two kingdoms, and he's saying that Jesus was saying there's the secular, the kingdom that we live on here, but there's a much deep, there's another kingdom, and you don't actually, in the case of the taxes, you don't have to be disobedient to one to be the other.
Okay.
You can actually do the two together. So he gave that
Yep.
perfect answer, and he said, "My kingdom." Later on, my kingdom isn't of this world, so
Caesar.
It's good. So there's definitely that message in there, isn't there? He's bringing in a different sort of kingdom, and we're meant to be wanting that kingdom.
It's an example of being as wise as a serpent.
So it's right. It's don't give in to fear when someone's trying to trap you. Jesus didn't let them bully him into. He wasn't so
He had
fearful.
the knowledge to be able to do that. though.
He did, didn't he?
had that.
But he stood up for what was true and what was right in the face of danger. These are the sort of messages we can get out of this. It's much better than just it's good to pay your taxes. If we understand the context, we can get a
He
lot.
got heated as well in the end, because that's when all the woes came in. Woe to you for this, and woe to you for that, and woe to you for woe. Remember all those woes?
Yeah.
Exactly.
because he knew the Pharisees weren't really after an answer; they were just
Yeah.
wanting to get him.
Yeah,
That's
hypocrites
right.
And everything else, yeah.
didn't want that. If they really wanted an answer, that would have been different,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
So they've got a message here of standing up to people trying to trap you, to not giving in to fear, and that Jesus stood up to them, and that he was innocent going into his death. There's a lot that we can pull out of this. And so if you're reading that story with a non-Christian, hopefully you'd be able to draw out a message deeper than we should just pay our taxes and follow the law. There's a lot more to it than that.